lose and a lose and lose. We never lose and a lose and lose. We never lose and a lose and lose. Shortcuts on the field, defenders they shiver. Goalkeepers nervous, strikers they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices. We never lose and a lose and lose. We never lose and a lose and lose. We never lose and a lose and lose. Shortcuts on the field, defenders they shiver. Goalkeepers nervous, strikers they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
Hello there, everybody. How you doing? You're welcome to the channel. So, this is a preview show for the Premier League games coming up. Talking about the Merseyside Derby, Liverpool, Everton. What do we think? What do you think about that game? Do you think that's a game that Liverpool would win as usual, or just opinions on it? I will give you my 2 cents about it here, and then we'll talk about, of course, other games that will be coming up in the Premier League on Saturday, as well as we'll be talking about the big one that I say Super Saturday, but Chelsea-Manchester United clash. And now, could this be the final nail in Ruben Amorim's coffin? I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions. Let me know in the comment section. So let's dive straight into it. So the first game, we're looking at Everton-Liverpool, or Liverpool-Everton, so at Anfield. And I know historically, traditionally, culturally, geographically, it's a very, very important derby for English football, for the Premier League. But overall, I just think it's one of those derbies where Everton will always come out there, be tough to beat, tough tackling, but would end up losing the game. So I just feel like Liverpool will have way too much for Everton. And especially if Everton attempt to be even remotely more open than they would normally be, which is, because they already have Grealish, who's been on fairly decent form, Dyer as well, Tyler Diblin. So if they even try to be remotely open, I see Liverpool, absolutely smashing them, because you've got Isak, Salah, Hugo Ekitike, and they've started very well this season. So I think that's one game where you can say Liverpool probably runs away winners in that one. But although I know there's always that 1% chance that Everton could get something from that game, to be a draw. But I just think Liverpool would have way too much. But to be fair, Liverpool they've started decently in terms of results, but the performances haven't been all too, I would say, convincing over 90 minutes for all the games. Even against Atletico Madrid, they had a moment where they got the first 2 goals, and then the second half, Atletico Madrid came back strong. It got, drew 2-2, and then they were able to get the third goal. That's Liverpool towards the end of the game with added on time. Similar things have also happened in the Premier League itself. So I think maybe that could be what Everton will be holding on. But looking at the form book, I don't think there's much hope there for Everton to win this one. But of course, Merseyside Derby, always drama, always tough tackles. So David Moyes will set the stall out to make things difficult for Liverpool. So let's see how that one shakes out. And then next one as well, Brighton versus Spurs. Now Spurs have really started very well, very, very well this season, especially. And I think Thomas Frank has a lot to do with that, because he's one manager that can just calm down the entire place. And as well, the way he plays is more flexible with his tactics, as opposed to certain managers that we'll be speaking about later on in the show. So they won the Champions League game with 2-0 against Villarreal, and they've also started very well this season in the Premier League. So I think this will be one of those games where they could just easily steamroll Brighton, because the way Brighton even goes about playing, they always leave themselves susceptible to conceding goals on the counter-attack. And like I said, with Thomas Frank, he can decide that today we're going to sit deep, because Brighton will play with a crazy high line, want to high press, and then we can hit them on the break, as opposed to Ange that would, irrespective of who you're playing, who play with that crazy high line, and like we saw last season where Brighton got the best of Spurs, that could happen again. But I just think that in this situation, with Thomas Frank, that wouldn't really be the case in my own opinion. So I want to know what your opinions are, about the Premier League fixtures coming up. And to my mind, I don't think there are any major injuries for both sides. So I think fair play. Spurs may just win this one, in my opinion. And then we go Burnley, Nottingham Forest. Now, this is a game where if Burnley play their games, they play their cards right, they could win this one because we've got Ange in the building yet again. He wants to go with his Ange ball. He wants to go to crazy high line. Although he's been speaking tough, he's been spitting absolute fire since he came back. He said it wouldn't take me long to get my style of play implemented. It wouldn't take him long to implement his style of play. It wouldn't take Nottingham Forest players long to adapt to his style of play. But then again, do they have that Van der Ven type player? Do they have that central defender with that quick, amazing recovery pace when the ball goes in behind the high line? Someone who's able to rapidly chase, pacey attackers down and win the ball back at just that sort of thing. So that's the question Nottingham Forest fans you have to answer. That's the question that I think Burnley would be asking, or rather should be asking, and Nottingham Forest when that game comes up tomorrow. So looking at it, I just feel like, yeah, if there was a game that if there was ever a game that Burnley could win against Nottingham Forest, I think it would be this one. And I'm just suspecting that maybe, who knows, what's his face could be sacked to come Christmas, and that's Ant, because the way he wants to play, I don't quite think it's rhymes with what Nottingham Forest have set up, have built, under Nuno. And it's just a shame that Nuno has fallen out of love, or fallen out with, or fell out with Marinakis, and as a consequence lost his job. It's just sad and crazy to me, in my humble opinion. I just think that when you have a coach like Nuno, and for a team like Nottingham Forest, it's really brought you back to sort of prominence. Now you're in Europa League. I just think that it's just a bit unfair that he got to lose his job. But that's it. That's football. That's football. Players, coaches, they all get the wrong end of the stick. So when you're there, I'm guessing you enjoy the fixture, or you enjoy your job. So let me know what you think about the Nottingham Forest Burnley game. I think Burnley, although we all say the new promoted sides maybe are favored to go down, and probably would be right, because they have lack quality in certain areas, while the style of play may look good on the eye, but maybe one of those things where in terms of execution they would have an issue, because like we saw against Manchester United, if Burnley were a slightly better side, they would have beaten Manchester United, but they ended up throwing away that game, and mind you won the game. So let's see how it all shakes up with Nottingham Forest and Burnley. Then going on to the next one, West Ham versus Crystal Palace. Now, looking at the form guide, you would say this should be, if I wouldn't say easy, but a comfortable win for Oliver Glasner and his men. And from a Nigerian perspective, looking forward to seeing Uche Crisantos take to the pitch again. Maybe this time, if he's fouled in the penalty area, when the penalty area is actually called out to be a penalty, as opposed to whatever the referee did in the previous game. So let's see how that shapes up. And we look at how West Ham have played, losing the games they've lost. It's just crazy. Apart from the one game that they won against Nottingham Forest out of the blue, was it 3-0? Now for West Ham fans, I'm sure they're hoping and praying that game sort of spurs them into having an even better season. But looking at Graham Potter, the way he wants to play, the kind of players that West Ham United have at this minute, it's going to be a real struggle. I wouldn't be shocked if he's sacked come December, come Christmas. And we had talked that West Ham are looking to get Bilic, the former coach, to come back, or to get Nuno Espirito to come back to be the new coach, to be the new head coach of the team. So let's see how it all shapes up in that regard. Now, looking at it, based on the form guide right now, I'll just think that Crystal Palace should be winning that one. Maybe 1-0, 2-1 victory. Or maybe, who knows, they get an early goal and it just shatters the confidence of West Ham United. So let's see how it all shapes up. But for me, I will be going with Crystal Palace winning that game, hands down, because they're better form, they've got a better manager, in my opinion. He's got this three at the back thing sorted out to a T. And of course, from an again perspective, I want to see Uche Crisantes do very, very well for them in any way except when they're playing Chelsea. So let me know just opinions on that game. If you're a Crystal Palace fan, if you are a Western fan, let me know what you think about that game. Who do you think is going to win the game? Where do you think it's going to be won and lost? And what if that game ends in an absolute drubbing for West Ham United, which can absolutely happen? It's not out of the realms of possibility. Let's say Crystal Palace bash them 4-1 or 3-0. Is that the end for Graham Potter in your books? Or even a draw? Is that the end of Graham Potter in your books? Let me know some opinions about that. And then we go on to talk about Wolves, Leeds United. Leeds United have had a fairly okay start to the season and from a promoted side perspective. And then you look at Wolves. Wolves haven't been that great, in my opinion. Though now they have what's his face in, they have a Nigerian striker, Tolani Kodare. He just had was he one train or thereabout before he made his debut. And so coming off of the back for a good form in the walk qualifying for the Nigerian Super Eagles, where he scored a goal in the Rwandan game, and for whatever weird reason, the head coach of the Nigerian Super Eagles, Erik decided that he would lump him onto the bench, which is just absolute craziness, in my own opinion. I don't see why you do that, why you keep a striker who's on form on the bench, especially when your number one striker, who you would say is better than him, wasn't available due to injuries. So, but fair play. I think he will do very well. I think Wolves versus Leeds United is an interesting one. It's a difficult one to call. And Farker, let's see if he's learned his lessons or he's still going to go with crazy highline and high pressing. Maybe that opens up, would open up Leeds United to counterattack from Wolves. So let's see how it shapes up. And I think Wolves, the fans of Wolves haven't been all too happy about their ownership group, about their board. Fans, are we ever happy with our board or ownership group? I say they're taking up a loan against the stadium, against the Wolves Stadium. It's crazy. What are they using that money for? Or is it to sign new talents? Is it to improve the playing squad? What is that money for? Because I look at Wolves and I say, do you really need to borrow that much money to against your stadium? I'm not seeing the player quality on the pitch. You know, like it's one thing if a club goes out there and really signs a lot of top players for a club, and then you say, okay, that's why they're borrowing the money. But right now at Wolves, I'm not seeing that. Yeah, I'm not seeing, why they would borrow the money. But I'm not an accountant. I'm not a financial expert. I'm sure a financial expert at Wolves know what they're doing. For at least I hope so, for the sake of Wolves fans. And then we go to talk about Fulham versus Brentford. Fulham Brentford, that's a close one to call. I think Brentford could be buoyed by the fact that they got a good point, a decent point against Chelsea in the last league fixture. Although for me, I felt like that goal shouldn't have stood because I was clearly offside. You had a lot of people coming up to say some weird things, and for me, it just makes me terrified of the Premier League. It just feels like you have a group of people sitting in a room, coming up with different weird takes, trying to telegraph how the league will go. Because it's crazy to me. Because have a look at it. Usually, the player's offside if it affects play while being offside. So, if a player goes towards the ball, misses it, shows intent to hit the ball, and then puts off the opposition defender from clearing the ball, he's offside. But for whatever reason, they're trying to turn it on his head that he didn't make contact with the ball. For me, what I would say is, if that's the rule, be clear about it. Be clear about it. Even if I go to smash the ball and I just miss it by an air's breadth, it's not an offside as long as I didn't touch the ball. Make it clear so it applies to everyone the same way, so that people don't go away from games feeling like they've been robbed or they've been cheated. Because I think that is the feeling that a lot of fans have. Like for me as a Chelsea fan, that's the feeling I had at the end of that game. Like, come on, this guy was offside. He actually went for the ball, attempted to hit the ball, and it missed him. Then Carvalho was able to pounce on it, and fair play to him. He scored. He scored. Play to the whistle, of course. So he did that, right? He did that. But overall, let's know what this offside rule is. Stop making it overly subjective I know they're coming up with this high threshold for, for interfering. What does that mean? What is the clear objective, what I say, indices for that? What's the clear thing that everyone can know? Okay, this has happened. Yeah, referee, the VAR official would not intervene, as opposed to one thing one game, the next in the other game. And I know what they rely on is the fact that fans will be overly tribal to unite behind an opinion. So if it goes wrong for your club today, you will cry, you'll be upset, you you be crazy on X and all that stuff. But if it goes right, if it goes right for your club, or your club is in favor of your club, you say, oh, that was good, very good result. And the rival fans are complaining. You say, I want to drink more of their tears, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. So I'm thinking that's one reason why VAR officials keep getting away with stuff, getting things wrong. Some of the decisions seem a bit corrupt, in my opinion. I'll have to put that out there. So let me know your opinions on this one. And then, of course, the big one. Chelsea, Manchester United, rather, Manchester United versus Chelsea. It's an odd one. Chelsea has already gone to play in the Champions League, which was an away game, of course, the Bayern Munich, and lost that game unfortunately 3-1. Now, I'll just talk about that game a bit before, going on to preview the Manchester United game. Now, for me, people were going on about Bayern Munich like they were super exciting, super dominant. They were not super dominant, Bayern Munich, right? They were not super dominant. And in fact, they were there to be got. They were there to be got. The high line was crazy as usual. They were there to be got. But unfortunately, Maresca and his men, or Maresca and his boys, decided to overcomplicate things. You should have had your pacey wingers on. I know you had Pedro Neto, but other than that, that was it for the most part of the game. Estevao should have come on a bit earlier, as opposed to coming up with 10 minutes to go. McGee should have come on a bit earlier. I'm not saying start, because when you mention this, people go, oh, are you saying you should start? You should have come on earlier, especially off the back of the fact that João Pedro has already told Enzo Maresca that he was pretty tired and didn't want to play the Brentford game, but he played the Brentford game for about 60, 70 minutes before he got subbed off. And McGee didn't even come on then. So the question is, why did you even invite McGee if you know you were not going to use him? What's the point? If you wanted a striker to just have on the bench, then maybe Shimi Mueka would have been the guy. Or David Washington, I think, that has been recalled from his loan, could have been that guy on the bench, as opposed to recalling a McGee that you're not even going to use. I know Maresca has come up to say, oh, we'll use him, he needs to do better, he needs to... Yeah, all that is just coach speak for I'm not going to play him at this minute. Because don't get it twisted. If this was maybe an Emmanuel Emega or some high-profile striker that was signed, there's no way he gets relegated to the bench. The first game, he missed it completely. He missed out completely. The next one, he was on the bench and didn't even play. And then this one against Bayern Munich, he didn't even come off the bench at all. So for me, that gives me worry going into the game versus Manchester United, because you have a lot of players that will be super, super tired, especially João Pedro. And we know João Pedro has been in very good form for Chelsea. He was tired off the back of the international break. Now he goes into the game versus Bayern Munich. He played the game for the most part. Didn't he complete the game? He played that game for the most part. McGee didn't even come on. So he's not extra tired. And given the fact that this is now even an away game, it makes it a whole lot more difficult for him to recover. So let's see that professional athlete. Let's see if he's able to thankfully recover in time for the Manchester United game. Now, on this side of things, talking about Manchester United now, would this be the final nail in the coffin for Ruben Amorim if Chelsea win? Of course, I want Chelsea to win, not only win, but win very well, probably trash Manchester United. But given the fact that in 12 or 13 tries, something like that, Chelsea haven't defeated Manchester United at Old Trafford, it's just mind-blowing, given that in the past, I'll say better part of a decade, Manchester United have been terrible. They have been great. They have been terrible. So how Chelsea haven't been able to defeat Manchester United is just crazy. Now, one thing for me going into this game is Enzo Maresca Enzo Maresca, please don't go crazy. Don't overthink things, because I seem to get this a lot with the Pep boys, all these coaches that got their sort of coaching tutelage from Pep Guardiola. They always overthink things every now and again. Get your wingers there and hit them hard quickly on the break. Have your Enzo, have your Caicedo in midfield, right? Have your Andre Santos in midfield, because right now what Ruben Amorim does, or has tried to do anyway, is go with Bruno Fernandes for the most part in midfield. And I've said this, that for Manchester United, that's just silly. And that's why I think Ruben Amorim, if he's sacked, I wouldn't be shocked, because you're kind of doing something that's stupid. Because for one, Bruno Fernandes can't play in that two-man midfield. And if you're insistent on playing a three at the back, people say, "Oh, it's not the system, not the player. There's something toxic. Is it something spiritual?" More, of course, the problems at Manchester United can be multifaceted. But one of those problems could definitely be that Ruben Amorim is getting things wrong tactically, because Bruno Fernandes is not that guy that you want to have in that two-man midfield. Because what we don't get is when you play any iteration of a two-man midfield, whether a 4-4-2, a 5-3-2, a 4-4-2, a 3-4-3, any formation that sees you having those two men in midfield, they usually have to work extremely hard, not just being good on the ball. You need to have that massive tank to go both ways, coast to coast. Like, you get the ball from the defense, you go down attacking, come back defending. That's essentially what you do in that role. And that's why for me it was a bit odd, though I don't like Manchester United obviously, but it was a bit odd when a player like Uche Crisantos that would have been a perfect fit for that role was just ignored. And probably, is it 20 million euros a year about that Crystal Palace paid for him? Maybe you would say if Manchester United had gone for him, it would be there would have been some sort of Manchester United tax or something like that. But even at that, maybe 30 million euros, and you would have got a top central midfielder that can go both ways, right? But he didn't go for him for whatever reason. Of course, Nigerian players, I don't know how they look at us. But and then you're sticking with Bruno Fernandes, it's not going to work. Plus, you don't even want to change. You don't even want to say, okay, looking at Bruno Fernandes, for whatever reason, he is your main man. He doesn't suit playing this two-man midfield role. Maybe we'll play 4-3-3, have a Casemiro and a Maino sitting in front of the back four, and having Bruno Fernandes in front of them as a 10, behind a striker, Sesko, or even Cunha, something like that. But don't have, or one of those 10 rows behind the striker. But for whatever reason, don't have him in that two-man midfield. And one thing with this 3-4-3 formation, once that two-man midfield thing crumbles, the entire thing crumbles. Of course, in other formations, and midfield is so important. But for this three at the back, two-man midfield, once those two men or one of them isn't carrying his weight, then everything collapses, everything crumbles. So I think that is one issue Ruben Amorim has to sort out. He has to sort it out. Of course, he deserves to leave if he doesn't, because we see this things with young managers every time. In the last 6 to 7 years, we see this with managers. My style of play, my philosophy of play. Well, I don't want to change it. I want to play the way I want to play. And you're seeing your team lose game after game after game, game after game. But, oh, my style of play, my philosophy of play. And you don't have the players to play the style of play. It could be minor that should be a shoe-in to play this particular style of play. You say, no, you have to fight to get on the pitch. While the player that's unfit for that position, gets to start every match. Yes, every match for me is just pure, utter madness, in my opinion. But that's what you have with modern day coaches, That's what you have with modern day coaches, right? They all say they want to stick to their formation, they want to play their style of football and all that jazz. But for me, I just feel like Manchester United could do a lot, could be doing a lot better if Ruben Amorim could just step down off his high horse and say, okay, I look at the players I have, how do I adapt this team, you know, to how do I adapt this team to play very well, at least get confidence in their bellies, start winning games, getting points on the board, and then general transfer window, I hold the ball to ransom, the Manchester United Ineos or whatever to ransom, and they get me the sort of midfielders I want to get that will suit how I want to play, and then I can stick to my philosophy all day long. But he says he wants to be there. If the club doesn't like it, how he's playing, then he wouldn't mind getting the sack. So fair play to Ruben Amorim on that one. Stick to your guns all you want. Now, from a Chelsea perspective, right, Maresca, don't mess around with this game. Just play Estevao on one side, Pedro Neto on the other, João Pedro through the middle, Cole Palmer and the 10, and then you have Enzo and Caicedo in midfield, or I would prefer Caicedo and Andre Santos in the middle. At least that's a fair thing, and let them play in their normal position, right? Not overthinking this. If what's his face, if João Pedro isn't ready, if he's tired, because he has to be. How many miles playing in Brazil, all the travel he did do international break within South America, and then you come back to play Brentford, you play the whole game, and then after that one, you travel to Germany, play that, and then you're back in England, you're traveling again for another away game, you should be tired. So if he's tired, let McGee start the game, because we know what McGee does normally is, without being forced, he will put pressure on the opposition back line time and time again. And we know he's very young still, understandable, but he is a decent finisher. And he is actually tall. He's 6'1", 6'2". So he can take care of the physical aspect of the game as well. So either you start with McGee, give him some game time, and then you take him off and bring João Pedro, or you go the other way around, start with João Pedro, and then 30 minutes to go, or 25 minutes to go, you bring on what's his face, and McGee to come on. Because I think that is one of the things that could give Manchester United some confidence. If Enzo Maresca decides to overly complicate game, overly play players out of position with this new craziness that coaches are on about. Like for instance, people are forcing Enzo to be in an 8. He's not an 8. Enzo at his best is a 6. Let the ball flow through him from the defense to him, and then he sees the entire pitch. He flows it to Palmer, he flows it to Gittins or Estevao, he flows it to Augusto or Rhys James, Pedro Neto, because he can see the entirety of the pitch. That is where he is at his best. But this 8, they're trying to force Enzo Fernandez to play. It just isn't his game. He could have been Fabregas 2.0. And by that I mean someone that's very good on the ball, good vision, technically sound. Plus, he has more legs. He's slightly quicker than Fabregas. Only slightly quicker than Fabregas. So that would have made him special. But for some reason, Enzo Maresca says he's an 8. And you have lots of fans that are backing this. They say, oh yes, he's an 8. He's not. I wonder what you guys would have done if you had ever seen Redondo play. You'd probably say he's a 10. Because Redondo was a 6, but you see him pop up on the left, he pop up on the right, he pop up close to goal. Always controlling the game based on how much possession his team had, based on how dominant his team was, and based on how far back into their own half the opposition was dropping. Yeah, I see something in the chat. So, how are you? Bournemouth, Newcastle United, East and West Ham starts for Newcastle United for a win. Yeah, they should be able to win that one. But Iraola is someone you don't take for granted for sure. So that will be an interesting game to watch. So thanks, AD, for your comments. Thanks for that one. So what I'm saying is, it's true. It is true. He is not a six. But Enzo Maresca is choosing to play him as a six, and he's struggling. He's struggling because the six likes to trap the ball, control the ball, look away the ball. And that's why he misses those chances in the box. Yes, every now and again he can score, but if you expect him to hit Frank Lampard numbers, he can't do it. And that's why he fades out of games because you're making him play what is not his game. Because the six gets to pick how and when they push forward. Move on back four, control how the ball flows, and then when they see, oh, this I need to move to this part of the pitch, you move there, put pressure on it. But when you keep playing someone like Enzo Fernandez out of position, you're hurting the team. And for me, going into this game versus Manchester United, I'm just hoping Enzo Maresca doesn't walk about. I just hope he doesn't end up playing players out of position. So if you're joining the stream, we're talking about previewing the Premier League games we play tomorrow. Talking about the Manchester United versus Chelsea game, about Old Trafford. So, who do you have winning that one? What is the score prediction for that game? For me, I look at that game. I think it's one that Chelsea should win based on the form of the teams. Chelsea has 2 wins and 2 draws, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, this is a game that Chelsea should be winning. The form of the team, the quality of the players. This is a game Chelsea should win. But Maresca, I think Maresca is the better coach at this minute, but he often mocks around and overthinks things. I just hope he doesn't do it for this game. And the thing about Chelsea, we had all talk about, we had all the talk about the PFA, Professional Football Association, talking about Sterling, talking about Disasi, how they've been treated and all that stuff. Fair play. For me, mental health, I understand this fact, and Marek said is that as a player, you want to play, that's what you love doing. You don't want to be in this kind of situation, this kind of place where you're not playing, where you're relegated to training with the academy or training on your own. You don't want to do that. But is it really that bad from a personal perspective where you're saying it's worrying their mental health that much? Maybe it is. I can't say for sure. But he said something about his father being a fisherman and just trying to let people know that outside of football, that in real life, people face real tough stuff. You know what it means to be a fisherman out in the cold, out in the elements? That's real stress as opposed to you're earning not of 200K a week. Getting to train, kick the ball around. You don't have to travel. You don't have to do all those things that have come with that all those stressful things about football. But then again, after finals they have to play. But I've heard that Chelsea and the PFA have an understanding now because I think the training conditions for Sterling and Disasi are a lot better at this point in time. So fair play in that regard. So generally, maybe Disasi leaves, maybe Ryan Sterling would leave as well. I think that's fair play. Fair play. They have to leave. So I'll play some videos now about some fans talking about this game, some Nigerian fans talking about the Manchester United Chelsea game. I'll give my different opinions on what they've had to say, and maybe you can give yours as well. So let's start with the Chelsea fan.
So I see this Man U game. I don't get fear at all because Man U not doing a good form right now. And second of all, everybody want bounce back. You feel me? I don't see that Old Trafford, but I know the panic. You know, understand? I believe him with a good get win. Yes, you could feel it. I will talk and say, hey, don't come again, the tossing and win. Yes, we will go there because we get better team than Man U right now. And Man U the shake based on the whole thing where they're going with them. So we not get any reason. We will not feel we're not gonna make us beat them. Because that Bayern Munich game that day, we just respect them. They're not doing anything, no. They're not doing anything. We score one goal, we give them penalty, we lose ball. So at the end of the day, now we defeat ourselves. But anyway, so this Man U game, I believe I said Cunha get injury or something like that. But we know, say, man, the Man U, they get issues. You feel me? And we got to capitalize on them. So if you want to play Man U now, these are the best time to play them when we say things they shake, because after a while they will pick form. That's what they be for every team. When they don't need more for a long time, after a while they will pick form, But not be our body don't want to pick form, because anytime they see my chest, they want a form tiger. So I believe say, man, that game we'll go dispatch that game. But meanwhile, Maresca need to understand, say, man, all those kind of gamble with the gamble, you're not gonna work. If you want to make changes, beginning of second half, make your changes. Or you start the game with your best team. Then if you're gonna put the players out later, if you want to rest them. Because at the end of the day, the injury worries we will get for the lap. And even if that is for bench, they bring a staff out for the 1 minute. I don't understand why. But any Asha, to cut long story short, Old Trafford, Saturday, will they come? You feel me? And I did very positive, man. We'll go bounce back. And like I said, no players get injury. I'm not sure saying we'll get any player will get injury so far. So, and I don't know how long Lavia injury won't be, because at that Enzo Fernandez, the guy sometimes in the door. You feel me? So that's why we get all that. We get Lavia, but I don't remember. I never checked, because I just rush this preview pretty quick when I go rest. I never know what they go for Lavia. I never know what I could do with it, but I never get a chance to watch the press conference. Whether they ever do press conference, I'm not sure whether I don't do it. But we need to step up and we need to take our chances. Enzo Fernandez is not captain. Assistant captain or whatever. You need to step up. We get to the barrier.
Shout out to Road King, the owner of that video. Shout out to you. He made some fine points there. With some fine points. First off, no gambling, no mucking about with the team. Play players in the right position for one. That would be my opinion as well. And when you need to rest players, and don't overly keep players on the bench. Like the Bayern Munich game that I talked about, as William came on the pitch with 10 minutes, or was it even 9 minutes to go? Really, a game you want to win, you waited till your 2 goals down, and not only that, you waited till the game was well and truly done before you brought him on. So that sort of thing is something I don't want to see. And you got the lap out. You have to really, I'm not saying wrap him up in cotton wool, but you have to really manage João Pedro at this time. You have to really manage it, right? Because maybe I'm sounding like a broken record. He's tired already with the stress of international break. Coming in, he's told you going to the Brentford game that he was tired. You played him still, went to the Bayern Munich game, you played him still again. So what you don't want is for his confidence to be shattered, or for him to pick up some fatigue-triggered injury or fatigue-instigated injury. That is something you don't want to happen. If Maguire wasn't that good, like when people talk about Maguire playing, people say, "Oh, do you want him to start?" No, but if Maguire wasn't or isn't good enough to even come off the bench with 15 minutes to go in any game, this is Champions League, this is the Carabao Cup, this is Premier League, this is FA Cup. If Maguire, in your estimation, Chelsea, in your estimation, Enzo Maresca, if he isn't good enough to come on for 10, 15 minutes, then why did you recall him? Why was it recalled? Because that's pointless, right? That's absolutely pointless. It just makes no point, no sense at all. Why would you recall him if you wouldn't play him for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes? Or is it until when João Pedro picks up an injury and then you want to play him? Because that's what happened with Maguire last season, right? He was never played. He just kept on the bench until the game that Jackson picked up an injury. Then Enzo Maresca was forced to bring him on. Why not manage the minutes? And I'm sure that injury that he got was because of his lack of activity. He came on for Nicholas Jackson and picked up an injury as well. So now he's fit and available. Use him. He's nearly as big as Liam Delap. So I don't get the point of leaving him dumped on the bench. Now let's hear some things that some Manchester United fans have said as well about this fixture. So just see what it's saying, and then we'll go to Nigerian
This is
fans.
the
So
three
let's see what
things
they have to
that is
say.
going to sack Ruben Amorim. Always picking Bruno in that double pivot, not giving
Yeah, correct. I agree with you. I agree with him in this regard. Always picking Bruno, playing him in that double pivot, in that three at the back system. It's maddening. It's crazy. Football players are not pieces on the chessboard. They are not salt shakers. Tuchel and Pep Guardiola playing tactics with salt shakers. That's not what players are. You can't just take one and place in one place and expect it to work out the same way, right? That's well, it doesn't happen that way. So playing Bruno Fernandes in that double pivot thing for me, if I was a Manchester United fan, I would be ripping my ears out my head. It's just madness. Let's hear what the Manchester United fan says.
pivot, not giving Kobe Menu the chance to play, and always picking Ota Bienda. These three
Okay. I'm sure he butchered the name of the Manchester United goalkeeper. Fair play, you're super brave. I am not even going to attempt pronouncing the name of Manchester United goalkeeper because you keep playing him. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to gradually integrate Le Mans into the Manchester United side? But if he's meant to be that guy, right off the bat, he should start playing because this present goalkeeper, Onana as well, that has left the club, they've not been good. They've not been fantastic. So I don't get why you bring in him. If maybe you had a Van der Sar or you had a check in the Chelsea situation, right? That maybe he's coming towards the end of his career and this new guy is the fresh face that's going to take his place. Then that's a different thing. You can let the veteran, play for a while you ease this guy in. But when goalkeeping is one of the strongest or one of the biggest problems with Manchester United, in addition to the fact that you keep playing Bruno Fernandes in midfield, it's just crazy. And then as well, the fact that Kobe Mino, I've mentioned this as well. It's nice to see a Manchester United fan talking about this. The fact that you're playing keeping Kobe Mino on the bench, the only player right now in that Manchester United team that is suited to play in that two-man midfield role in this three at the back system, you're dumping him on the bench. It makes no sense to me. I think coaches right now, they want to make coaching feel like it's rocket science, like it's something no one else can do, something no one else can quite see what's happening. It's almost like discovering the cure for all cancers, right? No one else can quite understand how it's going to be done, but the modern coaches, right? Coming up with my philosophy, my style of play, keep playing Bruno Fernandes in that midfield. And I'm going to say, Manchester United, whatever the results will be tomorrow, Manchester United will not progress with Bruno Fernandes playing in that two at the back, in that two-man midfield. They just won't progress. It's not going to happen. Mark my words. The fate of the team is not going to improve if you keep playing Bruno Fernandes in that role. It's not going to work. Just like Frank Lampard came to Chelsea and said, you know what, Kante, I'll play box to box. Kante struggled. Chelsea's season started to go downhill. So the thing where you see what makes a player special and then you move him to an area where he struggles makes no sense to me. Let's listen to the video.
These three things is going to sack Ruben Amorim. That is the three things that will sack Ruben Amorim. Clip me on this one. So my starting lineups against Chelsea will be Lamens in goal, Mazarawi, Matthias Delete, and Luke Shaw in my center backs. I will give Lenny Yoro some rest. I will rest him. So I'll be going with that three. My double pivot will be Kobe Menu.
But sorry, I have to pause the video. But why would you bench Lenny Yoro anyway? It's not like they have some European exertion. It's not like they played, in the Champions League, or it's not like they played in Europa League. you need to rest him. They basically play one game a season so far, even out of the League Cup. So why would you want to rest Lenny Yoro? I don't get it. But Manchester United fans, do you agree with what he said about resting Lenny Yoro?
Menu and Casemiro. Hear me out. Kobe Menu and Casemiro. That
Yeah. Sorry to pause that, but Kudmano, yeah, I get it. Casemiro, well, maybe Manchester United don't have any more midfielders, but I just think, though he's more suited, this is where it gets even weirder, right? He is more suited to playing that two-man midfield than Bruno Fernandes, but even him, he's so slow right now. He'll be better playing in a more withdrawn midfield role, maybe with another 6 sitting in front of the back 4, and then you have a 10 in front. But he doesn't have the legs still. I don't think. Manchester United fans, what do you think? Let me know in the chat. He doesn't have the legs still, to go 2 ways. But let's continue to
will
watch
be my double pivot. My left wing and my right wing will be Patrick Dogu and Amad Diallo. Patrick Dogu and Amad Diallo. My 2 turns, since Matheus Cunha is injured and Mason Mount is injured, my 2 turns will be Bruno Fernandes and Brian Mbomo. Bruno Fernandes and Brian Mbomo. Then my striker is Benjamin Sesko. He has to play. He needs more game.
Yeah, you have no choice. If you've decided that Benjamin Sesko is your man, like if he's the guy that you want to give the keys to the Manchester United kingdom to, then he should be playing. There's no other person in front of him. I think for the 2-10 roles, if I were to pick, I would go with the Cunha and Mbuemo, but Cunha, I think maybe injured or something, so he misses out. So I get why. But I heard some reports that Mount could play some part in this game for Manchester United. But let's see how it all shapes up in the end. So if you're a Manchester United fan, what do you think about this starting sort of lineup that a fellow fan of yours has gone with? For me, yeah, I think Manchester United missed a trick. Whoever is responsible, whether it was Ruben Amorim and the Ineos group or whatever, before you even think of signing a striker, you should have gone out there and signed those midfielders, those central midfielders. You signed 2. If you knew you wanted Kobe Meno to be on the bench, working hard, fighting to get in, you should have gone out there, got 2 top central midfielders that can go both ways, because you could be very good, but if you don't have the ability to go both ways, then playing in that 2-man midfield is an absolute disaster for any team. So, and this love that Ruben Amorim has for Bruno Fernandes playing in that midfield is absolute madness to me. But I hope he goes with the same. I hope he goes with the same against Chelsea tomorrow, because that just means it makes Chelsea's job a whole lot easier, in my humble opinion.
He needs more game. So this is how I will line up against Chelsea. But we all know that Amorim is a very stubborn coach. He would want to play Bruno Fernandes in that double pivot. And like as I said earlier, that's what is going to sack him.
Fair play, Erik.
My score prediction, I don't actually trust.
Fair point. And it's not just a Ruben Amorim thing. It's not just Ruben Amorim. It's something that, whether you want to say it's fortunately or unfortunately, it's pervasive. For modern coaches, all them coaches, 36, 35, down 36 to, let's say, 44, 46, 48. Those coaches in and around that age bracket, that's the way they are. My philosophy. It doesn't matter. The way we want to play football, we have to suffer. But sometimes, even if, let's say, you start a game playing a 3-4-3, right? And you're seeing your team struggling, doesn't it pinch you as a coach to say, come on now, we've played 45 minutes, we've played 60 odd minutes with the same style, we've played 70 minutes, the opposition are absolutely ripping us apart. Shouldn't we tweak it a bit? So maybe we get a win, maybe we get a point from the game, as opposed to just letting yourself getting run ragged, run into the ground. That's something I don't get, right? Yesterday in the Champions League on Wednesday, Chelsea played against Bayern, obviously, and the high line was just there, one pass and then a long pass in behind. But no, they still insisted on passing the ball into the midfield and allowing what's the face Bayern Munich to get them where they actually wanted them, which is play that ball into the midfield. Our high press will win the ball off you, and then we'll counter attack. So that's how they go. The Hurricane scored the second one that he scored. And I will say this about Hurricane. I know this seem like I'm digressing slightly, but Harry Kane, I think he's the most protected corner artist in football. Now, I'm not saying in business he is one. No, but probably he's one of the best and most credible businessmen, top man in his family and all that. So, nothing personal life, that's all. But in football, remember when Harry Kane would back into players while they're in the air? He would make like he was going to head the ball, but he wouldn't leave the ground. And then he would back into players and they would fall on their shoulder, on their neck. And somehow he would win the free kick. And the likes of Jamie Carragher in his usual crazy way would defend him. The same thing in the game, in the Bayern Munich game, that wasn't the penalty because Caicedo did not foul him. He fell on Caicedo. But apparently he's found a way to, get those decisions. And would I say fair play? No, I wouldn't say fair play because we don't celebrate the sort of things on this channel. And if his name was Rodrigo Romario, people will be saying we don't do this in our game. But there's Harry Kane is treated differently. So it's more like a UNICEF official. But taking nothing away from his very, very good finishing and his all-round game. But he's a bit of a con artist, that man, Harry Kane. So I just feel if Manchester United play the way they're playing, Chelsea should be able to win this one. For me, I would go with a 2-1 win. I would like to say 3-0, I would like to say 4-0, but Enzo Maresca, would tweak things to a point where the game would really be, I don't think it would be super free-flowing as I would want, because in this sort of game, you want to hit Manchester United quick with your pacey players. You want to go with Estavayo start, you want to go Pedro Neto start, you want to go with João Pedro started, and Magui coming off the bench, to really put that back line under pressure. But Enzo Maresca come up with something that would make the game really that would even the playing field, in my opinion. But I still think Chelsea should run out winners against Manchester United side. And just like in the previous video, at some point Manchester United may gain some level of form. I just hope we have Chelsea Football Club play tomorrow, not Charity Football Club. Because sometimes when a team is down, they need confidence. Who do you call? You call not Ghostbusters, you call Chelsea. Because Chelsea will just whip up a performance or a non-performance that will get that team to get a point or get a win that they've not gotten in ages, and then they're back in form. Now, but if my prediction goes right and Chelsea wins that game, then maybe I wonder what this Manchester United fan would say. So let's watch this video and then I'll give my final thoughts on the game, and then we will move on. And then we'll wrap up the show. So this is what this Manchester
Ruben
United
Amorim, share you see company yesterday. Share you see your mates. Inside Chelsea's 4 away games, they've played 2, drawn 1, lost 1. Make you not be saying that for Old Trafford them will get their first win for these their 4 away games. Make you not be your hand, Ruben Amorim. Don't embarrass yourself. Because at the end of the day, now you first Brentford coach come Premier League. He avoided defeat even in the last minute against Chelsea. Make you not be your hand. Chelsea has not won us in 12 attempts in the Premier League in Old Trafford. Don't come and break that record because you be record breaker or iron breaker, anything in the record. Don't come and break it. If you know you cannot beat Chelsea on Saturday, try and get a draw. Try and get a draw. The worst thing that will happen after we laughed at Chelsea yesterday is for them to come to our own backyard and beat us. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. With this year, I'm going to stick with my plan and my philosophy. You better use your head. Brentford played, I think they played a 3-4-3-2 and they avoided defeat against Chelsea. So Ruben Amorim, use your head. No can go lose against Enzo Maresca for Old Trafford. Make Chelsea fans come clap back at us. I dey beg you now. So if there's anything you know you can do to beef up our midfield, because if you want to defeat Chelsea, you need to frustrate them in midfield. They have very good midfielders. So if there's anything you know you do, not for Chelsea to take over that midfield, do it. Ruben Amorim, do it. No go carry Ahmad, they play out of position. Mbuemo out of position. You are good at playing people. And that Patrick Dogo, I don't want to see him for that match. I don't want to use my team. I see that for that match. I rest my case.
Okay, fair play. I wonder what Mr. Ken will be doing if Chelsea beats Manchester United 3 or 4-0. Let's see how that shapes up. But Ruben Amorim, he is going to do what he's going to do. He's going to play Bruno Fernandes in that two-man in midfield, in that pivot, for Manchester United, Ahmad is going to play as a wing back. Dogu probably plays as a wing back as well. So let's see how it all shapes up. But for me, I'm going with the Chelsea. I'm going with the Chelsea win. So if you're joining the show, we've previewed all the games for Saturday in the Premier League. We talk about the game, the Merseyside Derby. For me, I think Liverpool will win that one. While Everton, of course, will give a good account of themselves, but that's how it always goes with this Merseyside Derby. Of course, it's still relevant culturally for the league, but when it comes to getting the results that matter, Everton have always fallen short. And that was Goodison Park. Let's see, in this year new stadium, maybe it's a new day at Everton, and maybe it is a blue day for at Merseyside. So let's see how it all shapes up in the Chelsea game as well. I'm going to 2-1 win. That is going to be previewed. Just some opinions on the game. Some opinions on on this game that we talked about. Some opinions on who do you think will be the top performers for each team. Looking at Chelsea, for me, Cole Palmer just has to play very well. If he plays well, I think Chelsea will win because he's Chelsea's most important player. João Pedro, I just hope his minutes are managed, because right now I'm smelling something. I'm smelling an injury on the horizon, because he's way too fatigued to go for another 75, 80, maybe 90 minutes against Manchester United. At some point, you have to use your squad, Maresca. That is my humble opinion. So let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, please smash the like button and do subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to be part of a panel on the show, or you want to send me a video for me to react to what you've said, you can send it as well. And drop your comments in the comment section. And tomorrow we're back here for a reaction to the various games. Hopefully I'll be coming to react to Chelsea win, and maybe Everton beating Liverpool, reacting to all the games, all the results, notwithstanding. So before we go, want to play a song for you on the channel. So trying to give you something different on this channel. It's a nice fun song anyway. Nice fun song.
My people where they listen to me, my whole life family make una yeah. I dey drop new video every week from morning to evening, I know the fear. I spend my time and my data to make sure say una dey entertained. But I check my analytics, it dey make me vex. Viewers dey plenty, but subscribers dey faint. Subscribe no be only giveaway, make una support your boy, make it grow. If you like my content, make you show. Give me that red button, make it glow. Subscribe, no be only giveaway. Make una support your boy, make it grow. If you like my content, make you show. Give me that red button, make it glow. Some of una they watch from morning till night. You the comment, you the like, but you no click. You dey wait for when I go do promo, when I go announce the next phone or a ticket. Not true, I like to give back to una, now why I dey do give away from time to time. But if una no subscribe, I go
I wonder how you like that. But so far, so we've come to the end of the video. Thanks so much for those who've been on here and watched the video from start to finish. You can always catch it back or play back. At this point, simply thank you, and I'll see you on yet another video. Don't see you on yet another video. Do have a splendid rest of your day. Stay well. Definitely stay blessed. Bye-bye.